Yeah, this might be controversial, but I believe if you were able to bet on some of the fights, like on DraftKings or FanDuel, that will boost revenue and it'll boost the sport because we've seen that growth in all the other sports. As soon as you start, like you're able to bet on um, two women from Russia slap fighting each other,
Power
and
slapping.
yeah, power slapping each other, and now people watching power slapping. But if you can bet on some of the pro cards on East Coast, you might bring in some bigger sponsors on that. All right, welcome to another episode of Kit and the Brit. I'm one of your hosts, Kit Yeung, and this is everyone's favorite Brit, Sean Hinds. Sean, I'm really happy and excited to have a guest today, a dear friend of ours, a dear friend of the gyms, Joel Estevez. Give it up for Joel.
Thank you.
Joel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I know you guys from the Muay Thai scene. I've been coaching and training for about 15 years. I coach pros, I coach beginners, coach kids. I've been in the Muay Thai scene, like I said, since 2010.
Everyone can see that I'm repping the Premier shirt. Tell us a little bit about the new gym that you've opened up in Astoria.
Yep, it's my brand new gym. Just opened up on January, and it's going well.
Yeah. I know that Sean and you go way back. How did you meet Sean?
We met in at our old gym, and like what 2010, 2011,
Yeah,
Which gym was that?
Seaton Gym.
Oh, Sitan Gym. Nice, nice. Sean, you have any funny stories of how you met Joel?
Yeah.
You guys have any good sparring stories?
I just remember sparring with Sean. He couldn't hit me. It was.
I
know I'm
you,
cheap.
Sean.
Yeah, he couldn't catch me.
Move too much.
He couldn't catch me. So
Oh, so you guys met in around 2010, and then you broke off from the gym and you started your own gym at Premier. Yeah.
correct.
Okay. I heard you recently came back from a big tournament in Arizona.
Yep, I was putting on a show in Arizona called Siam Fights. We're hosting a $25,000 8-man grand prize tournament.
Awesome. And how did that go? Like,
It went
start
well.
event,
It was it went well. It was our first pro show. It went well. It was a lot of we learned a lot.
I saw pictures of it. It was a big outdoor venue. Were most of the participants on the East Coast or the West Coast or
Well, we
mixture?
had we had guys from all over the world. We had a couple guys from Spain. We had a guy from Belarus. We had a guy from Miami. We had a couple Americans. Yeah, but it was sick. It was an outdoor pickleball arena, and we
Nice.
turned it into a sick venue with the bleachers and the lights and the sounds. It was real professional show.
I mean, $25,000. That's a lot of money for the United States Muay Thai.
I don't think it's ever happened. I don't think we've ever had a tournament of that magnitude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any big names from the East Coast that made it to the next round?
Yeah, Ethan Guffin,
Oh,
Dimitri Varets,
Me.
Sean. Sean's in the finals. Sean's the final boss.
Sean made it.
We had this guy from Spain, Nico Sanabria, who's a dog. We had Antonio Martinez from Arizona. He's a dog. Agustin Andiarena from Miami. We have a Canadian Brazilian by the name of Victor Alvim, he's a big name in Brazil and in Canada. But all these guys that we have on the tournament have international experience, which is sick.
Yeah, it sounds like the event was really successful.
Well.
Yeah. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about West Coast and East Coast Muay Thai. There's always been the quote unquote West Coast Muay Thai is a lot more advanced than East Coast Muay Thai, but I feel like we're catching up like dramatically. What do you think about
Yeah, I think we're catching up. I think the difference though is that in the West Coast they have what's called PKBs, which is pretty much like a smoker, but less of a less formal. They do it on like Taekwondo mats. There's no actual ring, and what they do is they do a couple rounds, but they the guys are getting experience, and that's something we're definitely missing over here. While we do have smokers, they make it more of an event over here, whereas over there it's really like 3 or 4 rings going on at the same time.
Gotcha.
And hundreds of athletes are getting their rounds and getting their experience.
So those rounds go towards their record, or
No.
it's just rounds?
No, it's called PKBs. They don't even they're like less than a smoker. They don't. It's supposed to be like a very light contact thing, but people still get knocked out on these shows.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Sean, as a gym owner and a fight team coach, what do you think about smokers on the East Coast?
I mean, we've started to see more of them in the past few years. I mean, my whole thing is if you're gonna do a smoke, you might as well do the fight.
Right,
You
right.
know what I mean? Like, you've gone through all this preparation, everything else leading up to it. You're going into the fight. You know, at the end of the day, it's the outcome, right? At the smoker, both hands get raised. You know, no one's a loser. Everyone's a winner. And at the fight, you know, there's a one winner, one loser. And for me, I mean, I see a lot of people having kind of, I don't know, both hands get raised, but one clearly knows that he won and would
That's
like
right.
and would like to
One
have
got,
that.
one got knocked out. He still raised hands.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, just from my perspective, there's a lot of pros and cons because 10, 15 years ago, you show up to a smoker and you can fight anybody that also showed up to a smoker. But nowadays, you need a commission, you need the ambulance there, you need to hire referees, you need to get medicals, you need to get blood work. It almost feels like a fight, right?
It pretty much is.
So there's pros and cons to it. Like the pros are, if you can do the smoker, you can get your paperwork, your blood work, you'll be ready for the actual real fight. But the cons are that it just takes so much preparation. Like it costs money to do blood work, it costs money to do physicals, and now you're almost forced to sell tickets from your gym to make sure you show up to the smokers as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've never been a fan of smokers as well because, same like Sean said, you know, you're prepping the guys. They're putting the time in. The coaches are putting their time in, and it's literally a fight. It's literally a fight, and yeah.
And I think the last thing you want to do is just not give someone that time to let them go in the ring, and then all of a sudden now everything's just too overwhelming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah.
But I am really happy on the East Coast. We have so many more promotions now. You know, it's really easy to get a fight. I would say nowadays the landscape has really changed. Like back then, there was only like Friday night fights, right? That was the main one back then.
Yeah, Friday
And,
night
and maybe
fights.
sometimes Warriors Cup.
Yeah, I
No,
think
you had Mulberry Street.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Take
that's
On
really going.
was
Yeah,
around at that time,
Yeah,
like,
Take
back in the
On,
day as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
But you know, back then, like let's say 10 years ago, we were lucky to have 10 shows in a year.
that's true.
Yeah.
In a year, and now we have easily 30 fights, 30 shows in a year.
Yeah.
Just in
when,
New York.
when I started, you were lucky if you got 2 shows in a year.
Wow, 2
Yeah.
shows in a year. Yeah,
And a lot of time, if you fought more than 2 years, you
It's a
either
busy year.
you either left the country or you left the state.
wow.
It was
wow.
never
Definitely
really.
leave the
Yeah.
state. You have to,
And then
even
it-
still, you should leave the state. And get,
Yeah.
like, it's a different competition when you leave the state.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking about back in the days, Joel, we always hear stories of how people got started in Muay Thai, whether someone dragged you to the gym to try the first class. Can you tell us how you started Muay Thai or how you found Muay Thai?
Yeah, I started with my brother. So he started about a year or so before me. He went to this gym and
Which gym was it?
at the lot,
Oh, okay. And who's your brother?
Omar Estevez.
Oh, that's Estevez brothers. You heard of them, Sean?
Yeah.
We've been around.
Yeah.
So he started at the lot. He took me to a class. I wasn't into fighting. I wasn't into training. And I went to a class and I hated it. I was sore for weeks. And you know, at the end of class, they just said, okay, everybody shadow box. And like, you know, going to your first day, you don't know what the hell shadow boxing is. So I'm over here punching the air. Like, I don't know what, you know, I look like the silly, like a little kid. And then, you know, I was like, you know what, this is not for me. I'm not a fighter. Like, this is not whatever. And so then eventually he moved gyms and then he had a fight in New York at the 7 Train Theater in Flushing.
Wow,
Take
7
Home.
Train Theater.
Yep.
That's
So this was 2010.
class, yeah.
Yep. And at the end of the show, I was like, wow, that was really cool. Maybe I'll try it again. And I gave it a shot and I liked it. And because, you know, at that point, like it kind of gives you somewhere to go, right? It has like, you have like an end goal.
Yeah.
And so it made it easier to say, okay, well, if I do this, I can get there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was my,
And then you found your home gym at Seton.
right.
I mean, it was wild back then. Whenever I would go to a fight, whenever there was a person from the Seton gym or a person from the 5 Points gym, they would always win. So me and my friends would be like, oh man, there's something about those 2 gyms where it's rigged, where no matter what happened, those people would win. And we would kind of hate on them because they would win everything. But we would get really excited when a Seton person fought a 5 Points person, because then you wouldn't know who would win.
Right.
Like, it was 2 quality gyms.
Yeah.
What was the secret behind Seton that produced so many winners in 5 Points, do you guys think, back in the day?
There's killers in the
Yeah.
place.
Yo, man.
Yeah.
I think every sparring session was like a fight. Like,
Yeah.
man, like it was like a dog cage in there. Like we used to bang.
But then too, they had I think they had like a large pool of fighters, all different weight classes. So even if you're an intermediate person going to class and you show up to sparring, guaranteed there's like maybe 10, 12 fighters in the room that you're potentially going to be sparring with in that night.
Yeah.
So that within its sense, just like, you know, you always had to go there on point, sharp, ready to go, because it was, and some of the sessions, you know, 3 hours long, 3.5 hours long, you know.
There was, it was, we used to bang in there. Like, and we used to leave with concussions.
So the sparring sessions were harder than the fight.
100%. But that's what made the fight fun, right? Because like, and that's what kept me in it, because like, I don't like to be sore or do 50 kicks on the pads, but you know, like the sparring was what kept me, you know, engaged and kept me interested in continuing.
And rumor has it, like the old Seton was tiny. It was like,
1,000 square feet.
How many?
1,000.
1,000 square feet.
That's with the lobby and the changing rooms in the back.
Wow.
So the mat space alone was probably like
750.
750, yeah, if that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was tiny.
Like
And a lot of fighters came out from there,
30
right?
people in that room.
Oh,
on
we used to
Saturday.
pack it. We used
Yeah.
to pack it. You'd have to pick, like, every pair would pick like a 3x3 square, and like you'd have to just stay in. Like there were days where we could only do boxing drills because we didn't have any room to kick.
Yeah.
We couldn't do like moving drills. Like it was just you stay in that box and you bang.
And a lot of big names came out from there, right? On the East Coast scene.
Yeah. A lot of names.
Is it wild for you guys to see, like, even for both yourselves, the next generation of gym owners that come from these great camps back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a natural progression, right? Like, you don't just leave the sport. You know, when a retired baseball player retires, they either go on to coaching or they have their own things. Usually, they stay in the sport. Same for us. Like, once you can't do it anymore, you find another way to stay in.
It's just amazing to see the amount of Muay Thai gyms in all the neighborhoods nowadays, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, where do you see the growth of Muay Thai going on the East Coast?
I mean, the volume of fights that we have these days helps. You know, we have big promotions like Warriors Cup, Freedom, that bring pros to the scene. I just wish we had more pro shows here. As you guys know, it's super expensive to put on the pros. You got to usually pay for their flight, pay for the hotel, pay for their food, pay for their cars and travels and things like that.
Right.
So it's really not cheap. And on top of that, we don't have the support from sponsors or from the fans to really make it where we can have an all pro card.
Sean, as a pro, was it easy to make a living in Muay Thai or not really?
Nah.
Even nowadays?
Yeah, even nowadays, I wouldn't even think, you know, back then you started off at maybe $500 a fight.
$500 a fight? Wow.
Yeah, 500. I think the most I ever got was maybe 3,000.
$3,000 a fight.
Yeah, but that was pretty much way into my career. I guess, you know, I'd made a name for myself. So I, you know, if I was main event or co-main event, I can at least, you know, kind of dictate a little bit better paycheck.
Yeah. Fun facts, we almost made it to the Olympics this year, but we got beat out by flag football. Right? Hopefully we won't get beat out by pickleball in the next one.
It's going that way.
Yeah. But how do you think we can get additional sponsors for Muay Thai? Like some of the bigger brands and stuff, you know? I mean, I was just watching an episode of White Lotus in Thailand, which is a huge show on HBO, and they had a beautiful Muay Thai scene where they were doing the Y Crew and they were fighting. So I guess the sport is becoming more mainstream with like One Championship and UFC, but we haven't hit those big brands like Nike or Gatorade or Red Bull, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll get there one day, but I think there are too many purists in the show that want to keep everything, you know, as pure as, you know, as we found it. But the reality is that the average consumer doesn't care about the White Crew, the Moncon, the Thai music. People just want to see a fight. People want to see knockouts. People want to see highlight reels.
Yeah.
And if it's not on social media, you know, you can't put a regular fight on social media. It has to be like a highlight reel to get the views, right?
Yeah, this might be controversial, but I believe if you were able to bet on some of the fights, like on DraftKings or FanDuel, that will boost revenue and it'll boost the sport, because we've seen that growth in all the other sports. As soon as you start, like, you're able to bet on two women from Russia slap fighting each other.
Power slap.
Power slapping each other, and now people watching power slapping. But if you can bet on some of the pro cards on East Coast, it might bring in some bigger sponsors on that. You know?
Yeah, but to be fair, Power Slap has Dana White behind him, so
that's true.
when you have that kind of money, it makes it easy to, you know, those connections. He probably has, you know, Fox deal or some kind of streaming deal on UFC Fight Pass or whatever, where he can just put whatever he wants on there. Because what they really need is content.
That's true, because if more people follow us on this podcast, we sponsor some of that betting, I think, Sean
Hey.
and I.
Yeah,
Right, Sean?
well,
Yeah.
for sure.
So don't forget to click that like button and follow us, because once we get that money, we're throwing it right back into gambling on Muay Thai. You know? Yeah. Also, tell us a little bit of. I heard you got a new kid coming along the way. A child. I'm
I
sorry.
got my third coming. Yep.
Wow. You making a baseball team or?
We're on our way.
Yeah.
We're on our way. We're on our way.
It's the employees of the gym.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And where can the viewers get some Premier apparel like this, and how can they join?
Yeah, you can go on premiermuaythai.com. You can buy merch on premiermuaythai.com. You can sign up for membership at premiermuaythai.com
Awesome.
and follow us on Premier MT.
Okay. And what are the plans? Is it to get your own space, a bigger space?
Yeah,
Because
that's
I know
the plan.
right now you're running shop out of Hinds, Astoria, right?
Right,
Yeah.
correct. So the plan is hopefully by the end of the year, if things keep going well, we'll be looking into our own space.
Awesome. And
Let's talk about how many gyms you have.
oh, you want to talk about how many gyms I have?
You just
Along
opened up a
with
gym over
Sean.
the weekend.
So yeah, Sean and I own a few gyms. We own Hinds Combat Sports in Lawn City and Hinds Combat Sports in Midtown. And it's just been a pleasure to take a hobby and just turn it into like a business, you know? It does like I wake up every morning feeling super blessed because it doesn't feel like work. You know how the
Right.
saying is, like, if your work is play, like it doesn't even feel
For like
like
work.
it doesn't even feel like work at all. And I wish everybody could turn their hobby into work. And I would love to Sean and I to do another episode on how to open up a Muay Thai or MMA gym, like the blueprints behind
Hey,
it.
if there's anybody that's gonna,
Yeah.
run that podcast, it's
Yeah.
the guy with 18 gyms is probably the best guy to listen to.
I mean,
No, but then
It's
again,
will
but, yeah,
cost a
but
lot of
then
money,
again,
but-
with each gym, you go through like different heartaches, different tribulations. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To
sure.
go through one and then decide, all right, I'm going to go open another one again, and then another one. It's just
So how different was it for you guys to open the second one from the first? Like, what was different for you guys? Like, what had you guys already learned?
Oh,
with the
do we
first
have
one.
a story for you? Because I'm going to say these three letters and everybody should just run away from them. Something called the DOB,
Mm,
okay? The Department of Buildings in New York City, right?
yeah.
You before opening a gym, you have to research the DOB because they will delay your project significantly if you don't get the right architect and the right permits and stuff. So yeah, in that podcast episode, I would love to talk about that. And you have to know that Sean and I survived the pandemic, and so did a lot of the gym owners.
Right.
Like we didn't think Muay Thai would ever come back after the pandemic. Like I was telling Sean, I was looking for jobs online the day that like everything shut down. I was actually going on the job sites and seeing if I can apply for jobs online because I was like, what am I gonna do? Like there goes my income, right?
Yeah, but for me, I didn't really think the pandemic was going to last that long because
Why do you think?
I had a trip planned to Japan. That I thought, oh, it's going to be done and I'll be in Japan. Japan came, left. I was still stuck in the pandemic, So it's we really didn't know how long it was going to last.
Yeah, we were freaking out until the news came saying that we would get unemployment. So I was happy. And then I went out and started buying groceries and I started watching those cook at home videos and I was watching Netflix every day and I was happy to get the unemployment.
Yeah, there was one thing that said if you were a martial arts studio and you were doing more like forms where you're on your own and you're not making
gotta be
contact
6
with
feet.
someone else, you got to be 6 feet. Was our kind of
Yeah.
we
Saving
can do
grace.
it because then we went out and we bought like 6 new bags and split the place up into cubes and everything else and just said fuck it, we're gonna open up, and that's what we did.
So Sean and I had the idea of making it almost like a speakeasy.
Mm.
So the doors would be locked and you'd have to come and knock on the door like 3 times.
Say the secret
Yeah,
password.
and we'd be like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm trying to get Muay Thai. I'm trying to hit the bags. Right?
Everyone had to
We
register
can't
online.
connect, yeah.
Everyone had to register online as well
Yeah,
before we.
And then we had to tape those boxes 6 feet away from each other. And the wild part was that I'd be working out like this close to somebody. And on the weekend, they'd be like, by the way, kid, I tested positive for COVID. And I wouldn't get it. And
But then you know what was crazy too? When everyone finished the class together, they all left through the door at the same time.
yes, yes,
Nice
yes.
sweaty ass.
Yes. And then after the Muay Thai, the jiu-jitsu folks would come in,
Oh, shit.
and we'd watch them sweat on each other and breathe on each other. And, you know, the whole thing was like straight out of the movies. It was just wild.
Scary times.
Yeah, but it's great because I don't think if we didn't keep the doors open for those speakeasies and have the members support us, a lot of gyms didn't make it. You know, a lot of the big name gyms didn't
Right.
make it, like the Wad and Kobans and like
Chocolate Bar.
Chocolate Bar, yeah.
But I think because of the people, we stayed open because I think for like the first month or so, we had like people still paying full membership.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then by the second month, we was down to half. And then at that point, it was like, we should at least try something, you know. And then, you know, yeah, we kind of made it through.
Right. And I bet your landlord didn't give you a break on the rent either.
Oh, no, he was fantastic.
Oh, you got lucky then.
He was fantastic.
So they are fantastic until they're not fantastic, because they'll give you a break on the rent, and then as soon as things started opening up, they were like, "Kid, by the way, remember that rent I gave you? Now that you're back up and running, how about you pay me back some of that rent?"
Wow.
Which is actually a blessing in disguise, because Sean and I took offense to that at our old location on Vernon Boulevard, because we opened up Hinds Combat on Vernon Boulevard. And then when the landlord did that to us, we were like, well, we're not at full membership yet. Why don't we pay like 50% or something? And he said no. So then we had to find a new location, and that's how we found our current
Yeah.
location.
But that was pretty much after like almost this beginning of the second year.
Yeah.
You know, so for that first year, we kind of helped us out. Well, I felt we weren't really struggling. We didn't have to we had no money to pay anyway, you know. But,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
And then it was a blessing in disguise, because our new location was so much better. The facilities were better,
Close to the train.
closer to the train station, and now we're really flourishing.
Yeah.
I mean, at the old location, Sean and I went through some horrible times. It was like a broken down warehouse. And we were one of I think the first Muay Thai gym in Lawton City.
Yeah.
So when we saw the location, it took us like a year and a half to find the location. And we just jumped at the first one. And it was a warehouse. There was plenty of space, but the heating wasn't adequate. The cooling wasn't adequate. When it would rain, the water would pour down the side of the
inside,
walls
yeah.
and stuff.
Then,
Yeah.
And then the boiler broke.
And the boiler broke.
And then so that boiler broke in like December, January, February.
Yeah.
Just,
So Sean would go and he would be super grumpy. I'm like, Sean, what's wrong with you? He's like, I literally worked outside in the wintertime, and I'm coming to this place that has no heat, and he's freezing outside. He's freezing inside teaching class. People don't care. They're still kicking the pads with like frozen feet. I'm working the front desk with my toes frozen. And I told Sean, I don't know how much longer we can do this, because we're just breaking even, and our toes are frozen, and like something had to happen.
The juice is not worth the squeeze, as they say.
Exactly.
the pandemic saved us, man.
Yeah, the pandemic actually saved us.
Yeah.
Oh,
When are you matchmaking for AFL?
you tell me. You the boss. Well, we're looking for a venue, so we're locking something in soon, and hopefully by the end of the summer we'll have something, some big news.
Awesome. And when's the baby coming?
Late August.
And good luck with all
Yeah,
that.
baby.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's what's
Very
up.
And we can't wait to have you on again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everyone, give it to Joel. Yeah.